you can bury the workman, but the work will go on. You can silence the voices, but you can't stop the song.
Welcome to Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged with your host, Brain Fitzpatrick. Wheeling the Pathways of Life Unplugged is a snapshot of the day-to-day experiences of disabled individuals as they navigate the world around us. We wish to shed light and open your eyes on a new perspective of people with disabilities. And by going unplugged, we can discuss viewpoints we hope will challenge our viewers' points of view. Most of us have disabilities we must live with, but what defines us is the way we deal with them. And now, here's your host, Brain Fitzpatrick.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Brain Fitzpatrick coming to you live from the facilities of Pittsfield Community Television and WTBR. Let me start off by saying this show is going to be a lot of discussions about different programs that are offered by several different agencies and several different agencies in general. I do not have anybody here to talk about the agencies, but I want to give you my perspective today on some different agencies and how I feel like they should be better, or whether they're doing a good job or whatever. I am not gonna name the agencies, but I'm gonna tell you the circumstances surrounding each one of them and go from there. One of the things that I'd like to start with is anybody that is in my position or somebody similar, we don't want to hear, I don't like to hear anyway that, I don't like to hear that, you can do this, but you can't do that. I mean, yes, there's going to be some of that, but if you're going to say there's a life without limits, all right? There's a life without limits. Everybody has limits, I get that. But if you're going to put unnecessary limitations on people, then that's wrong too. I should be able to go out in the community and do what I need to do, what I want to do as a regular person, and not feel obligated to stay home or whatever if I want to. I understand there's physical and transportation problems with going out every day, but I do not feel like that should be limited. The agency should be saying, putting limitations on the individuals. I feel as though we have too many limitations. I have too many limitations physically that I can't do, or that I have trouble with I don't need an agency necessarily telling me I can't do this because this isn't the way we do things, but I understand there's rules and regulations, but it's just in general, you know, putting limitations on them because the state is paying for it shouldn't be a thing either. I mean, would the state rather pay for me to go into a nursing home than for me to be on the community? I would venture to say that it is more cost effective to have me on the community than it is to have me in the nursing home. Okay? Like I said, on average, this is just a rough guesstimate. The agency, the massibility, okay, for me, okay, spends a little over this is a rough guess now, a little excessive. They pay a little over $50,000 to $60,000 a year just for the support to have me on the community. But the nursing home would be approximately $220 a day. Medicaid would be paying for me to be in a nursing home. $220 a day. I do not know what that is yearly, but it is, that's an expense. And in a nursing home, you don't have the flexibility to go out as often as you do outside of a nursing home. And the other thing I'd like to say is, like I said before, we have enough limitations and challenges for us to deal with. So that's why people like me have agencies and have other resources to assist in helping us. Now, if you're suggesting, I can see suggesting independence, suggesting I do a few things on my own, okay, and giving me some independence and some decision making and something like that. But at the end of the day, the responsibility is the agencies to ensure that I'm fully staffed and able to live on my own. I am not in a wheelchair because I necessarily want to be in a chair. It is something that I live with day in and day out. Okay? I've accepted the fact that I'm in a chair, and I always have been. Would I want to be out of a chair? The answer is no. But do you think I want to deal with somebody saying to me, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that all the time? Because physically I need help, so I need other people to do things for me. Quite frankly, if you don't want to help, don't take the job of PCA. I mean, I'm not trying to bite off my nose to spite my face here, but I'm just saying all this to say, think seriously about why you're taking the position. If it's just for the money and for the just for the money and for you to pay the bills, and not care about the people you take care of, don't take the job. Because not everything you do not everything you do in life you're gonna get paid for financially. You'll hopefully like the job and get along with the client, but I can't do anything about the pay. But I can try to be as independent as I can be, and I would like the encouragement to do so, other than say, oh, Brian's misbehaving today because he's in a bad mood, so we will discourage the behavior and not find out why the behavior is the way it is. And in general, people like to blame me for the way things are. And if you look at my life on a daily basis, I'm doing more for other people then I'm worried about what other people's schedules are, what is feasible for them. Not necessarily all the staff I have, but most of the staff. I'm worried about what's feasible for them instead of what's feasible for me. And the reason why I'm telling you all this, and I'll bring it down a little bit, is the fact that I want consumers and staff alike to realize that, yes, there are rules and regulations, but you gotta realize you're dealing with other people's lives too. Now, granted, I know people can't work all the time, and you know, as you know, as you may or may not know, the state does not want to necessarily pay any overtime for PCA care. They do, but they put limitations on the overtime you're allowed to work. Now, I say all this to just say I live my life as normal as I can. A little help from the state side, and a little help and understanding from the staff side would be beneficial from my perspective on understanding more by case by case basis what the patient needs, what the consumer needs, what the patient needs, and build a program accordingly. Don't just throw somebody in a program and say, there you go. I know that's not what I'm doing now, but I want to tell you that has been quite a history with me about going into day programs and stuff like that when I was younger. And in the nursing home, because they didn't want me spending time in the nursing home because they were afraid of what I was going to say. So they put me in a day program that was more geared for lower functioning people than I was. And then I got blamed for talking to the staff more than I did the clients. There was a couple that I could interact with, but they weren't cognitively able to meet me at my level. Now, yes, I lived with it for like 2.5 years while I was in the nursing home, but and it continued for a little bit outside the nursing home, but I got out of it quickly. But the other thing is, this is my strong opinion, again, but I do not feel you should put two similar diagnoses together in one place. Especially having one PCA for two people. Because whenever one person needs something, the other person needs it as well. There was a situation where I had an accident. I had an accident with the Hoyer lift, and I fell out of the Hoyer lift and hit the cement floor. And the first thing out of the other client's mouth was, told the staff he needed to go to the bathroom. And there was only one person there at the house that was taking care of me because I hit the floor. And so in that realm, it's not a very good idea to have two people. I mean, two people with one staff. Not only that, you're having psychological issues where they're doing more for him. They're doing more for me than they are the other person. And stuff like that. And other people feel like they're getting pulled in so many different directions. It is funny. Now, with another thing is the PCA program is run by the state. The people that are running the PCA program, from the state perspective, and as with Center for Independent Living is the one that's overseeing the program locally. But they are told what they can and can't do from the state perspective. I'll tell you something right now. Half the people making the decisions are not people that have been here, they haven't set foot in the house. They're behind the desk saying what they can, wow, I mean, this is unacceptable, we can't use these hours for this. We need to justify this, we need to justify that. That's fine and good, but the people making those decisions need to come out into the community and look over the situations. Now, there are some, I will say one thing, okay? All these agencies that I'm talking about, ADLIB, BARC, UCP, BFAIR, are all trying to do the same thing. Be there for the people and make sure that people have the services. Okay? But they can only do what the state tells them to do. And if they don't have the documentation right or the paperwork right to be done, or what they did for that individual for that day or for that month, they don't get paid for it. Okay? So, I get the fact that people are strapped and they don't have time to be doing all the things they should have time for. But what I am saying is, you need to take into account these are people trying to do the best they can. And these are people that want to take care of people. I'm gonna get into something real quick that's kind of personal to me, but I will get into it. My doctors at one time said, we want you to track food intake and food intake and output as far as going to the bathroom and stuff. But was that meant to be a continuation of what the doctors need, what the doctors want, and what the agency wants are two different things. What the agency is saying for me is, we want to make sure you're safe. I get that. But the recommendation was just that, a recommendation. It was not a case of Brian can't make his own decision on what he wants to do. If, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm refusing or not complying with what the doctors want or not complying with what the agencies want, that's my decision, not theirs. And should not affect my ability to still work with that agency or whatever. But they're saying, you know, what I'm saying is basically, this is how it is. We got to do it this way, and with minimal explanation as to why it's got to be done this way. Luckily, I've been through the system. I know exactly why they do the things they do, and I appreciate what they do, but I'm saying if a recommendation is made by the doctor, it should be up to the doctor to keep track of it, and up to the consumer and patient, whether I continue with the procedure or not. I mean, and that should not be up to the state to try and tell me, well, if you don't continue with this thing they're requesting and we don't continue with it, there's gonna be consequences. But I understand what they're saying. They don't want to get in trouble for not doing it, but I don't. The doctors don't want the paperwork, so why should we continue the paperwork? Now, people may say, you're just ranting off and saying problems that you have with agencies about your situation. The reason why I'm doing so is to say, if I'm having this much trouble, and I'm not bad-mouthing UCB or something, I'm just telling you where I'm at with other people telling me what to do, and not making it as a suggestion. They're just telling me that, they're just telling me this is how it is, and this is what needs to be done, and I'm making suggestions as to what my situation should be. And if they do, they're what I would call directed suggestions. Directed suggestions to me means if you don't do this, we're gonna have significant consequences, as so much as you could lose your program if you don't do this. Well, where does the life without limits, where does the life without limits situation come into play with that statement. Okay? I understand people have limitations, people have things they gotta do, but I mean, it should be, I won't even use my name anymore, but the X, Y, and Z doesn't want to do this. We've done everything we can. The documentation should be ended. Right? That should be covered by them saying to whoever wants the paperwork to continue, there should be a writing a letter saying the consumer doesn't want to do it, so therefore we're out of obligation to do it because we've offered it to the client and the client doesn't want to do it. I mean, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal because they're concerned, but unless the doctors yell at me and say, you gotta do it, then that shouldn't be as big a deal as other people are making. Like I said, I completely understand and I completely respect what the agency's saying, but I think it could be handled a lot better in situations like that. And again, I'm not bad-mouthing the agency or anything, but I'm just bringing out the fact that if you're within an agency working with somebody, you need to have flexibility on what you can, what you need to, what you ask for that client to have, or come up with good justification as to give the client choices as to what they should be able to do. It's not good enough for me all the time to say, this is how it is, this is what you're gonna do. Right? It's not in the threats to losing your program if you don't do it. That's a little bit ridiculous. And I don't care what agency I've been with. That's happened at multiple agencies. They're like, we don't like the way you're doing it. We don't understand why you won't do this. They think it's just because of behavior type issue than, you know, what it is. And the main reason why I'm saying this, and I'm just saying the things, I'm not pointing who's saying it, but I'm just saying agencies in general, which everybody has their own way of doing things, whether it's, I'm going to use names on this one, it's UCB, BARC, anybody has their own ways of doing things, but any agency you work with has to work with the clients and work within their comfort level. The reason why I gave the names is because I want to just say, it doesn't matter who the agency is. Right? it happens everywhere. It happens like, you know, if I've gone through just about every agency there is in Pittsfield. Right. And they're all the same as far as basically some of them are better than others, but they all need to pay attention to what the consumer wants to do. And, you know, they all need to pay attention to see where the consumer is and the expectations they put on. But the reason why I say all this is the fact that most of the time the expectation isn't put on by the agency. It's put on by the state. And until the state or the federal government gets out here and actually changes the rules and changes the expectations of what the agencies are required to do, we're always going to have this problem. So, despite the fact that I use names, it's just to say this. I understand what the agencies are trying to do, but the agencies are just doing their jobs just to satisfy the state and try to get what the state wants. If there's anything I understand, but I'm focusing on today getting the state to realize that they need to make changes. And one of the changes that I'm making is I'm saying the things as far as whether or not I agree with some of the things. I obviously don't, but what I do agree with is the agencies need help. Right? And most agencies that I've been through have enough help to get themselves in trouble. Because they take on contracts they can't handle. Because these people need places to go. These consumers need places to go. But then the agencies get so full, they can't handle the influx of people. So what I'm saying is, we need to find a way to make the agencies work better for us when it comes to being more personal and being more flexible with what they need to report and stuff like that. I'm not saying if I fall or if I have a problem like that, report it. But if the doctors don't want certain paperwork and I don't want to do it, then I shouldn't have to do it. whether or not, let me just say this, all I'm saying is the agencies need the flexibility to do what the consumers need to do or want to do. They don't need as much bureaucratic justification to do it. They need the flexibility to be able to just be able to justify, okay, we need this, we need that. Kelsey, can you real quick pull out for me? For example, like this chair that I have right now is $25,000 when I bought the chair. It was $25,000. Okay, I have to go from my doctor. I have to call the wheelchair company, order the chair, get the justification from the doctor, go to the clinic, go to the wheelchair clinic, do up the paperwork to just get the insurance to cover the chair. Okay? Okay, Kelsey, you can go back in now. In my case and in several other cases, there is not a situation that I'm not gonna, there's not a time where I'm not gonna need a wheelchair. There's not a time where I'm not gonna need certain things for the rest of my life. So what I'm saying right now is there's gotta be a way to say nothing's gonna change, so we need to continue services for the rest of his life. We need to continue to support PCA services or some kind of health care for Brian for the rest of his life. Because I'm in a chair, I need special transportation to be able to run, be able to go out in the community and be as flexible as I can. I shouldn't have to go every 4 years, get a letter from the doctor or fill out an application that says I need to continue services. All right. All I'm saying is there's plenty of ways we can limit the amount of paperwork and the justification the agencies have to do. Let's let the agencies do what they're meant to do. And that's to provide services and to do away with unnecessary, unwanted, by the consumer, paperwork that nobody sees anyway. Right? Nobody sees it. You know? So basically what I'm saying is this show is to show you that we understand and we get it, why you have to do things, why agencies have to do things, and I'm not saying to badmouth agencies or make them feel bad in some ways. In make them feel bad in circumstances, but I'm trying to help them by saying the state and the federal government needs to get off their butts and change things so that we as consumers can live as normal life as possible. We don't want to have to take time out for justification when quote-unquote normal people, okay, I mean, everybody has to justify, everybody has to get licensed, everybody has to get licenses renewed once in a while, and stuff like that. I get that. But physical needs to justify what we need, no. It costs, in my opinion, it costs more money for the paperwork, for the justification, than the equipment or whatever you're trying to get us for what we need. All right. I need PCA services year-round without question. And for some strange reason, the PCA services get cut off as soon as as soon as something happens and I die. At that point, you should say, okay, we don't have to worry about paying for Brian for that because he's no longer with us. I mean, that should be the only justification you need as to what kind of. I mean, I'm not gonna get any better. If anything, I'm gonna get worse. So, all in all, I appreciate what everybody's doing, what all the agencies are doing, and the cases that I brought up, and situations that I brought up, was just to show you that within the state regulations and within the state's requirements, I think it needs to be changed in a way that makes things easier and makes things more user-friendly for the consumer and the agency to do more effective work. I don't mean to, and I hope that people don't think I was being mean by pointing out situations that happen that I don't think are right. But I'm not saying it's the agency's problem why they have to do what they have to do, but I think it's stupid that they have to do things they have to do because it's all about the money. As far as I'm concerned, it's all about the money. And it's all about the fact that if they don't justify what they're doing, they're not going to get paid for what they need to put out there. They need to do for the clients. They're not going to get paid for what they do for the clients. So then the clients are going to suffer because they don't do the paperwork that doesn't necessarily need to be done anyway. And I'm not, believe me, I've had discussions with other consumers and other staff members in agencies in general that feel the same way. So I'm not out there dogging what the agencies are doing, but I'm just saying the agencies need to be allowed to be able to focus on the services that the people need. And yes, I understand they need to know where the money's going and what it's being used for. But there's many ways you can do that without justifying, okay, 4 years from now, we're gonna do the same paperwork just to say Brian's gonna need to continue services. You know, unless there's a medical change that requires notification that I'm gone or notification that I've changed significantly to the point where I need more services than I've ever needed before, that's the time that you need to justify, in my opinion. And this has been my opinion and my opinion alone. This is not the opinion or being sponsored, or I wasn't told to say this by an agency. I'm just giving you my opinion as far as what I feel. It's more on the state's regulations, and the agencies are just trying to follow what the state wants and what the supporting agencies want or need to have as justification to continue services. Where the line is between whether the client or consumer, or whatever you want to call it, feels is appropriate, that's where I have the issue. And letting the consumer make that decision on how far it should go, that's where I have the issue. I don't have an issue with the people doing it or why they are doing it. I have an issue with the fact that it is required to be done certain ways. I just feel it's a waste of time and a waste of taxpayers' money, because most of the taxpayers' money is used in paperwork to justify something that, if you have a question, get out in the community and ask the consumer, not get justifications in certain ways, just to make it look good or waste the money by getting the paperwork just to spend more money on doing the paperwork than you will be just doing the job. With that, folks, I would like to say thank you very much for your support, and thank you very much for your willingness to listen and for the people that are supporting me and watching me on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for your support. And anytime you have anything you'd like me to talk about or bring up, please let me know at wheelingthepathwayoflife@gmail.com. wheelingthepathwayoflife@gmail.com. With that, folks, I think with that, folks, I will look forward to seeing you next week. And I look forward to more in-depth discussions. And even though they're my opinions, it doesn't mean that every opinion is the same, and I'd like to hear the differences of opinion from other people. So with that, folks, I appreciate you watching and listening. See you all next week. Thank you.
Can bury the workman, but the work will go on. You can silence the voices, but you can't stop the song.